Greetings Netherlords and welcome to the Stonevault guide on Mythic Plus difficulty. This dungeon will test your mettle, so let's dive right into it. E.D.N.A is arguably the simplest fight this season, but she hits incredibly hard. The primary mechanic to manage is a volatile spike, a swirly that erupts into a spike. Touching one causes it to explode, dealing massive damage to the person who triggered it and applying an AoE dot to the entire party. In short, do not touch the spikes. E.D.N.A's second ability, Refracting Beam, targets all party members with beams that break any volatile spikes they pass through. Position yourself so the beams hit one of the spikes. It's fine to stand in front or behind, as the beam will pass through everything. While the beam itself deals moderate damage, avoid overlapping them, as getting hit by multiple plus a spike explosion can overwhelm your healer. Finally, there's Earth Shatter, a powerful party-wide AoE. Use defensives to mitigate it. Any remaining spikes will explode during Earth Shatter, so make sure none are left by the time it happens. Burst whenever you can, as there isn't much movement going on this boss. Skarmorak, another golem, but corrupted by Void, is far more complex than the straightforward E.D.N.A. In addition to surviving constant high damage, the key mechanic involves handling crystal shards. Each time the tank buster is used, 3 shards appear. These must be killed in a staggered manner because they explode and deal significant party-wide damage. In short, don't go all out and burst them down at once. Follow the tank's lead and kill the shards one by one. The reason it's crucial to deal with the shards is Fortified Shell, a channel shield the boss periodically casts. This ability gives him a large shield and destroys all remaining shards in the room. Remember, each shard's destruction causes massive AoE damage, plus it increases the strength of the boss's shield. If any shards are left when Fortified Shell goes off, it's likely a vital in higher keys. While his shield lasts, Skarmorak channels another ability that deals party-wide damage, increasing in power with each tick. To break the shield quickly, you need to collect unstable fragments, void orbs left behind by the unstable crash ability. These orbs increase healing done as well as damage done to shields by 50% for each stack, but they also apply a ticking dot. The more orbs you collect, the more damage you'll deal to Fortified Shell, but you'll also take increased damage. Ideally, grab 1 orb after the first unstable crash and 2 more just before the boss enters the Fortified Shell phase. If you get more orbs than necessary, don't be afraid to use your defenses. Pro tip: do not steal orbs from your healer. They need at least 2 orbs to manage the increased damage during Fortified Shell. Use burst at the start and then every time the shell is up. And also use defensives. If you thought Skarmorak was bad, get ready to face a dynamic duo straight from hell, or maybe a forge since it's equally scorching. There aren't any specific mechanics to watch out for, but as a Warlock you need to make sure the bosses die at the exact same time. And I don't mean within 10 seconds of each other, I mean within 1 to 2 seconds. If one dies before the other, the remaining boss gets massively empowered, dealing enormous party-wide damage while continuing to cast their regular abilities. So it's critical to coordinate and ensure they go down together. Regarding their abilities, Brock, the smaller one, will cast Molten Metal, set up an interrupt rotation and slow him down with Curse of Tongues. He'll also ignite 3 of the 4 vents located in the 4 corners of the room, dealing insane damage to anyone standing on them. These vents don't become critical until Dorlita starts using his abilities. Additionally, Brock periodically leaps away and kicks a massive iron cube across the middle of the room. Do not stand in its path or you'll get flattened. Immediately after kicking the cube, he'll cast Molten Metal again. If your pet isn't on him, it may be too far away to interrupt it in time. So either you keep your pet on Brock or inform your group that you'll miss the interrupt. Dorlita, the robotic speaker, is just as dangerous as Brock. He periodically launches a glob of lava as a random player, so make sure to dodge it if you're targeted. After Brock kicks his iron cube, Dorlita will drag his own, lighting it on fire and make it explode, dealing massive party-wide AoE damage while sending out huge lava waves. The only safe spot during this is on one of the vents that Brock hasn't ignited. This is also a good time to use your defenses. Your best time to burst is usually at the start of the fight, and then again whenever you're safely positioned on an unlit vent. Unlike other bosses in the Stonevault, Eirich is relatively simple for Warlocks. Other than proper movement, the fight is highly scripted and repeatable, making it easier to manage. The main mechanic to handle is properly dropping entropy pools from Entropic Reckoning. When you get the debuff, simply move to the edge of the room, drop the pool, and move away. When debuffed by Void Corruption, head to one of the 2 Void Rifts at the room's edge to dispel it. Afterward, the rift will relocate to a different spot around the room. You can use your Demonic Portal and Demonic Circle to more easily move around the room. You do not need to enter the rift itself, just move close enough and the debuff will clear. Don't panic about this debuff. While it deals damage, it's more important to prioritize handling the other mechanics before rushing to the portal. You can always pop a defensive to mitigate the damage, since there's no significant unavoidable AoE damage in this fight. Lastly, watch out for the big frontal cone attack. Just move out of its path and you'll be fine. I recommend staying at a maximum range to more easily manage all abilities, unless you are in a party with a Preservation or Augmentation Evoker, at which point this fight becomes way harder. As usual, burst at the beginning and then again whenever you've just handled a Void Pollen drop. During your time in Stonevault, you'll encounter a plethora of mobs that require careful control. In the first area leading up to E.D.N.A, the most dangerous enemies are ghastly Void Souls that cast an AoE fear with heavy damage. Interrupting this ability is a top priority. You'll also face Earth-infused golems, where you'll need to dodge the occasional frontal attack and pop a defensive cooldown for their AoE burst. Cursed Invaders cast Arcing Void, which should be interrupted whenever possible. Lastly, repurposed loader bots will jump around, so be sure to dodge them. On the Void side, leading to Skarmorak, the most dangerous enemies are Void Despoilers, with their unavoidable pulsating AoE. Pop a defensive whenever you can to help mitigate it. Voidbound Howlers cast Piercing Wail, a priority interrupt. Turned Speakers are also interrupt targets because they place a 3-second silence on you or your party members. While this is a dispellable magic debuff, it can also land on a healer, so try interrupting it whenever you're not dealing with Howlers. Lastly, Void Touch Elementals drop swirlies, so just avoid them. On the non-corrupted side, leading to Brock and Dorlita, you'll encounter Forge Loaders. Dodge their lava cannons and use a defensive cooldown when they cast the stacking Molten Mortar on you. Forgebound Menders are the only interruptible enemies on this side, so focus on making sure their heals don't go through and curse them to slow down their casting. Heading towards Eirich, you'll come across Curseforge Menders, Earthbound Mender's evil twin. Their abilities are identical, so handle them the same way. Cursed Forged Honor Guards charge with a frontal attack indicated by a big blue arrow. Dodge it. Cursed Forged Stone Shapers spam Stonebolt. Slow them with Curse of Tongues and burst down their totems, or they'll one-shot your entire party on higher keys. The heavy hitters of this last dungeon wing are Rock Smashers. Dodge their swirlies and use defensives when their Smash Rock stacks get too high. Bonus tip: if you have a warrior, a dwarf, or a blacksmith in your party, there's an item you can use in the room before Brock and Dorlita that gives your entire party a 10% versatility buff for 10 minutes. I recommend using it right before engaging Brock and Dorlita, since their damage is constant and quite high, making the extra damage reduction from versatility extremely useful. And there you have it, everything you need to know to break into the Stonevault as a Warlock. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe to get more guides and tips. Remember to soulstone, and goodbye.